Hi guys, welcome to Footprints to Heaven. This is my second video. I completely apologize and sincerely apologize for the delay in coming to you with this video. I know I said I was going to do it literally a month ago, and it has taken me a while to get to do it because as I said in my last video, I was in the conference period when I did my first video at church, and I really wanted to come a lot quicker with this testimony video, but after the conference I felt a lot of assaults, and I realized now that the enemy does that a lot when God wants to really do something great in my life, wants to take me forward, wants to push me forward, and he assaults me. You know, all these things go to my head. I was having a lot of negative thoughts and a lot of negative things come at me in regards to my Christian walk. So it took me a while, but recently in our church we've had a lot of news, things that have really woken me up about life, about what I've decided by following Christ. It's really woken me up, and I know at the end of the day nothing else in this world matters than, you know, living for Christ and seeing souls saved. So I want to come at you today and just continue and give my testimony like I promised, no holds bar, and, you know, letting everything out there to hopefully help somebody through something at the end of the day. So if I can just go into it, and I just pray that God will help me to just let go and just let my testimony flow, and for it to touch somebody's life today. So as you all know, my name is Lorraine and I'm 26 years old, and I have been saved approximately 15 months and 4 days today, on the 18th of December 2012. Now, I was saved at the Potter's House Christian Center, as I said in my last video, in Walthamstow, and this is a part of a bigger church that is an international congregation. We have, you know, churches all over the world, and I was saved in 2011 on the 14th of September. Now, before I got saved, I was a very broken girl, a very insecure girl, and a very guarded woman. I had so many things that was almost bounding me like ropes in my life. So many assaults, so many demonic holds that was really holding me down in my life. And going back to when I was a child, I grew up in an African home, and a Ghanaian family home to be precise, and my life was relatively normal until I was the age of like 10, 11, and I was born in England, but I lived back home in Ghana for 10 years of my life, and I came back here, and that's when everything sort of changed. Now, when I came here, you know, coming from a different country, there was a lot of adjustments, a lot of things that I wasn't too clued up on, but when I went to school, I was made to realize very quickly that I was different, and that being different was not okay. Being dark-skinned girl, African child, was not okay, because I was bullied very badly from the age I was about 10, and it really sort of set off completely when I was in secondary school, which other places might call high school. And I was bullied very badly, it created a lot of insecurities in me, a lot of issues in my heart in regards to letting people in, so I became very guarded. And then in regards to all of that, I created for myself an escapism, which a lot of bullied kids tend to do, and my escapism was television. And in television, I created myself a fantasy world, an escape to go into. So I watch a lot of music videos, I watch a lot of movies, movies, especially rom-coms, things that had happy endings that did not reflect on my life. That is what I found solace in. So I went to that, and I found my sort of worth in that. I didn't have many friends. I didn't have hardly any friends when I was in high school mainly. So if it was a place where I can hide and a place where I can escape to, when nobody would hurt me. So I found it in TV. I would spend hours watching TV, and I realized that, you know, TV was the first addiction. And then by the time I hit about 13, 14, I became addicted actually to, I started getting addicted to pornography. Now, this habit sort of started obviously with the watching of the TV, and as my parents worked late, there was no boundaries for me. I could watch TV to all hours of the morning. Nobody would be there to tell me otherwise, to you know, not to be doing it, and there's nobody to supervise. So I got into that arena, and the enemy used my loneliness to get me to that arena. So it was a point where, you know, obviously I'll be 13 years old, I don't know very much, just watching normal TV. Started to watch more late night TV, and you know, back in those days, late 90s, early 2000s, it became you know, when it's like 1 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, Friday night, they'll start showing more raunchy things on TV, and I started watching those. And then we had cable, Sky as we call it here in England, and I started watching more of the, you know, soft porn sort of things in the cable channels. And then before I knew it, at the age of 14, I discovered my stepfather's pornography, and that's where it all began. And it was years of getting deeper. You know, obviously we first started with something quite tame, and then it will get deeper and deeper. With all addictions, it just get deeper. After you have the hit, you want the next hit and the next hit. And by the time I was 16, 17, I'd realized that I was fully addicted to this habit, that I would, to the point that I would do anything, I mean anything, to get it. Like, I would steal magazines from shops, I will spend my money, my dinner money and stuff on, or my work money on videos. I would literally do anything to have this, and it became a full-blown addiction by the time I was 17. That I would spend days, you know, hours in my bed watching this stuff and becoming so consumed by it that it was almost like a thick, tangible darkness that was around me, because the enemy had fully consumed me now, that I had to know. I felt like even in the daylight that it was pitch black around me. And this went on for years. I was truly addicted to this for years, and I'll spend days, as I said, I'll spend hours watching these things, and almost at that point where I was doing it, it was something else. It wasn't me. It was this something else that would consume me, that would make me want it so badly. And then afterwards, I would just feel empty, like something just left me, and I was just empty, and I was me again, and I was disgusted with myself, and I was you know, I was ashamed, and I would cry and cry, and you know, I started to get panic attacks because I couldn't sleep. I was so scared of sleeping because I felt like this demonic thing was in the room with me, and I could not sleep. Afterwards, I would lie in bed and I'll keep my light on, and I could not sleep, and I'll be having panic attacks. It was horrible. But for years and years, I would try and stop, and I couldn't. And I just got to a point where I thought, this is it, this is it, this is who I'm made to be. And that's what the enemy will tell you, that you cannot escape this life, this is what you're going to be for the rest of your life. And I honestly, in God's honest truth, thought that is how my life will be for forever. And I was consumed by this, and I was terrified by this, but I could not shake it. And it got to a point I was like, Lord, I wasn't really raised in a Christian family or a practicing Christian, Christians who profess to be Christian but not really Christians. And I was living that life, and I was so ashamed of myself, and I felt so condemned, not convicted, condemned. And instead of it giving me the escape that I wanted, it made me more lonely and more depressed and more worthless. And so when I went to uni, I came back, it obviously spiraled by the time I'm 23, into all sorts of things, like things that you could never even imagine. And I was like, what am I doing? And I could still not explain. I could still not explain what I was to myself. I couldn't even explain, and I could not escape. So when I got to 25, and I was going to another church, and the church was so many things going on that I did not feel God in there. And since I was 16, I really was seeking God, and I wanted God, but there was always, I just never had the right avenue and the right I just wasn't saved, so I hadn't got salvation. So it was just a whole struggle, and I just felt like I was just always in this place where I was just floating, and I hadn't put my feet on solid ground. And it came to a point at 25, completely lost, completely like gone. I'm like, I need to meet God. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I need to meet God. And I was walking through the town center to go buy my mother something, and I saw the church doing an outdoor outreach, which is evangelism. And now I'd heard them, outreach and singing music and all that kind of stuff before, and I think I've probably even taken a fly or two before, but I just never thought about it, never considered or gave it a second thought. So that day I just went up to one of the people, which happened to be one of the sisters who were outreaching, which happened to be one of the pastors in my church's wife. And I asked her what church this was, and she told me, and I said, okay, I'm looking for a church and I would love to come. And she goes, yes, come tomorrow. So this was a Saturday. She told me to come tomorrow, which was a Sunday. She told me the church time, so I said, okay, I'm going to come to the mid-morning service. So the next day I went to the 11:30 service. This was in June 2011, and I went to the service. And halfway, so I went, and then for some reason, as soon as I stepped in, it was a massive church, because I was so used to going to small, mainly African round churches. So it was a massive church. I was like, goodness, this is a lot of people that go to church, because I didn't know that many people go to church at once. And I've always had this thing about big churches, thinking that they are not, it can't be spiritual. They are not spiritual. They're just there for show and money and all that kind of stuff. So I've always had that thing about big churches. So when I got there, but then even though I felt that, oh, this is a massive church, I still felt comfortable. I still felt like I'd almost got home. I didn't feel uneasy. I just came to the church, I sat down, and I felt comfortable. Now that first day, I don't remember what the pastor preached, but I came back the next week and the week after that, and I started coming a bit more regularly. But then things that happened at home, a lot of family issues started happening, and I sort of fell away a bit. I'll be in, I'll be out. And then in September 2011, I was going home. I'd moved out of my parents' house by this time, and I was living by myself, and I was going home from work one day, and I decided, and I was thinking, okay, I was already late for church, so I might as well just go home. This was on a Wednesday, but something told me I should go to church. And then I went to, when I literally got to the station, I had 2 paths to take. You know, it said narrow is the road that leads to righteousness, but wide is the one that leads to destruction. And I literally had, now I can see in my head, I had 2 roads to take, and I decided, thank God I decided to take the narrow road and go to church that day. Because when I got to church, there was a visiting preacher that was preaching. When he goes around churches, and he does, the pastor, but he goes, evangelist, sorry, he goes around doing the strongman show. It's this thing called a strongman show, and he just shows by the strength of God, and he just bends things, and just, it's a fun thing that he does. And he'd done the strongman show the night before, and he was preaching the day after on the Wednesday. So I went to church, and he was preaching a sermon about the projection onto your mind. Now, he was given an illustration of 3 different projectors that are in our lives: ourselves, God, and the enemy. And these 3 projectors are trying to all fight to go onto one screen, which is our thoughts, and our thoughts, which will finally lead to our actions. Now, he was saying that God is literally the most quietest projector. He would not fight you too much to get to the screen. He wants you to want him on the screen, and he wants you to desire him to speak to you on your lives, on the screen of your life. But the enemy is very aggressive, always want to push in, tell you what to do, and control the screen. Now, I don't know why, but obviously it was God's time for me to get saved, and that sermon hit me so hard that I just made a note that this is the day I got saved. That sermon to me was so powerful, and was left from God to touch my heart, that I knew that was the moment I was saved. I had no doubt that it was the moment I got saved. Because people asked me, because I was professing myself to be a Christian. People asked me if I was saved. I was like, yeah, of course I'm saved. I go to church. And they were like, so when did you get saved? And I could not tell them. And I was like, if I'm really saved, how can I not tell people when I got saved? But that day I knew that was the day I got saved. And when they had an altar call, I went to the front, I prayed, I accepted Jesus into my life as my Lord and my personal Savior. I asked him to change my life, and from that day, brothers and sisters, YouTubers, I'm telling you, my life has never been the same. God has really met me. He has changed me. He has developed me. It has not been easy. Don't be fooled if anybody who tried to profess any place that tried to profess that Christianity is this wonderful thing, that the wonderful walk that as soon as you get into it, you're just saved and you're just loving God 24 hours a day and your life is just easy. Because it says, erase on the just and unjust. Your life, I think, being a Christian, your life becomes even harder because the enemy has lost you, and he does not want the children of God to go back to God. So once you profess God as your Lord and your personal Savior, he will attack you even harder. There was things that I was being attacked about when I was a Christian that I wasn't even attacked about when I wasn't a Christian. And it's been tough. It's been, it's been a journey, but I know that God has been with me every step of the way. When I got saved, 6 weeks later I got baptized, and God really has met me. He's developed me. He's given me good reference points. He's given me good people. And in the next video I'm going to talk about the challenges of being a Christian, get a bit more into details and how to sort of keep yourself in it, and what I've learned in the last 15 months of how to keep yourself, and from what I've learned from people, how to keep yourself in your faith. So he's surrounded me with good people who really love God, who are not ashamed to to show when they are struggling, are not ashamed to be real about it, and to let you know that you're not being fake when they're not gonna allow you to just be fake and just try and pretend that everything is perfect from the beginning. Because at the end of the day, our walk is a journey. You will not be perfect until you reach heaven. So get that off your mind right now. If you think that being a Christian, as I said in my last video, is going to make you perfect straight away, it's a journey that you need to take your whole life. Troubles will come, trials will come. I've seen things, people going through some things in church, I'm like, what? And the way that they're dealing with it, you know that there's a difference in their lives of how God is helping them to deal with the situations. So that's how I came to salvation. And you know, for 4 months when I first got saved, there was a period where I was just on high. I was loving God, praising God. I just wanted God 24 hours a day. And then it got to a point where it sort of, when it sort of stabilized, and I was scared that I was going to backslide. I was scared because all of a sudden I wasn't having all these urges. This, like, it wasn't my worship and my praise wasn't emotional. Yeah, I had to now choose, as my pastor told me when I confronted him, and I went, oh my God, I think I'm going to backslide. I don't have that zeal I had at the beginning. It's like, just calm down. It's just at a point where you need to now choose to serve God. So I got to that point, and you know, the addiction, the first 4 months, my addiction to pornography completely went. Like, I had no desire whatsoever for it. And then it got to the 4 or 5 mark, and it's all, you know, when you're old, when your old desires start to come back. And you know, it says in the Bible that you're every day, as a Christian, every day you have to die to yourself. You have to die to yourself. You have to choose Christ and die to yourself. You have to be willing to kick that old habit back into that grave every single day of your life. And so after the 5 month point, those desires that come, all desires come to come, and I started to fear really badly. Like, I'm like, God, I cannot go back to this. I just can't go back to this life again. And you know, it was a struggle. I stumbled many times, but what kept me is that God kept me, and he never let me go back. When I stumbled, I got up and I went for God again. I asked for forgiveness, and I went for God again. And it got to, when it got to like the 6th, 7th, about the 8th, about the 7th, 8th month mark, and there was a great reference point in my life where God really met me and spoke to me, saying I had no more excuses. God, he showed me the realness of him, and I had no more excuses. I had to choose him. If I was to make it, I had to choose him above all things. And after that, he took away that desire, that taste from my mouth completely, and he's kept me. And I feel, right now, I feel so free. I feel so liberated. I walk with no burdens of that in my heart, and I know that every day I need to choose Christ. I need to choose life. I need to choose to live life according to his will, because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters. We are nothing but fleeting creatures, and if we don't choose Christ, we will live eternally in a world that is even worse than the one we're in right now. And this world right now, to me, is bad, and I don't want to live worse in eternity. I want to be with Christ. I want to build the bridges back with him, and I'm just learning day by day to live for him, to walk my own walk, carry my own journey, seek him in all that I do, humble myself, and he's teaching me so many things. And I just really want to bring my testimony, because I think a lot of people think that, you know, those kind of, you know, addictions are only men, like pornography addiction, masturbation addiction, are only for men. But a lot of women, I've spoken to some sisters in church who struggle with it, and I've now gotten comfortable talking about it to people, because I know that it will help somebody to talk to know that it's, being a Christian is not about professing perfection, because we all came as sinners. He says, come with me. God told us to come with us and give him our dirt and our burdens, and he'll give us back peace and love. And that's why I came. I didn't come perfect. I came broken, shattered on the floor, and he gave me life. And I just want to really use this to encourage someone, to tell somebody that no matter what you think you've done, it is not bad. It is not, there's nothing that can separate you from the love of God. Like it says, if even you as mere human beings, as sinners, as, you know, just broken people, you can give your children, you know, gifts of worth. How much more me, your God, who created you, who formed you in my own image, how much more would I not hear your cry and save you? And he really heard my cry, and he saved me from who I used to be and the things that the enemy tried to hold me back with. So as I said in the beginning, don't let the enemy tell you that there's something that you've done that cannot be forgiven, that you're going to be like this forever. No, reject it right now and say no, and come to Christ. You know, find somewhere where they worship God truly. Build yourself around people. And the next video I will share with you what I believe will helps people to help you, will help you as to live a Christian life, because at the end of the day, it's a family, it's a journey that you have to take with other people. So yeah, so I just hope that this video really blesses somebody, and in my next video I will share those tips and things that I've learned so far, and from what I've learned from people that I know in church as well. And I just hope that will bless you as well, and I hope this video will also bless you. And if you have any comments, any thoughts, please leave it underneath, and I will get back to you. I'll reply and answer where I can, and I just hope that you're blessed, and I will see you next time very, very soon. I pray to God. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.